Bog beef. Every good old boys listeners knows our thing is patronage. Run that patronage peel. So is our sponsor, Consumers Research, and its executive director, Will Hild. He eats, sleeps, and breathes getting rid of the worst patronage network in our country today, ESG. If you're tired of big asset managers like BlackRock raising gas prices, making it harder for gun manufacturers to operate, enforcing long monologues about trans people of color into the sequels of your favorite video game franchise, you need to go follow him and his work on X at Will Hild, WILLHILD. There's nothing to buy, just say hi. Today we're joined by, someone who I'll introduce by song, popular song on with the kids, and goes something like this. On the net, there lived an outlaw who was named Josh Connor Moon. Battle hardened from the farms and battle weary from the troons. Yet he fought to see footage of the moments cops attacked when the stranger there among them had a baldo on his sack. A baldo on his sack.
Very succinct. Very nice.
It's a great song. New remakes out about it. I got to start out. There's a, I don't, I'm sure if, Lifetime needs to jump on this. A lot of guys, we joke around about Dark Side Phil or something like this, or people like this, but the ladies are very, very interested in the Rekieta case.
It's true. They are. It's true crime. Basically, the Rekieta life is now a true crime documentary.
It's the best. I mean, it's so exciting, and they don't. I'm sure they know, but you are. Do we have any updates? Are we any closer to getting the footage?
It's a slow going process. So what happened, just in broad strokes, this is actually the fifth case I'm kind of involved in. I warned you that I'm in four different sorts of litigation.
It did say outlaw.
This is the fifth, so I'm not directly involved in this, but my nefarious machinations are at work all over this. So what's happened is that effectively the judge permitted my attorney, who represented me in Minnesota, to access the footage. And we sent people out in person immediately to take notes about the footage. And then as soon as Rekieta became aware that people had access to the footage, his attorney and the district attorney conspired together to inform the judge that nobody should have access to this footage, because even though it was submitted into evidence, it was actually withdrawn later. The judge immediately concurred, and the same day that they requested that access be restricted, they restricted it within minutes of court opening. We actually had somebody going to see the footage to take a third pile of notes, and she was turned away at the courthouse because the clerk had already been informed that footage was to be removed from public access. So this happened within hours, within minutes, in a system that's very, very, very slow. And the judge wrote his opinion in regards to closing the access to the footage in a way that made it extremely difficult to appeal it, because he focused on things that, legalistically speaking, are harder to argue, as opposed to the things that are very obvious, such as it's already been made public, so therefore the damage is done. Genies don't go back in bottles. Genies don't go back in bottles is actually a very big legal thing in the U.S. We don't believe that you can delete something from existence, so it's considered a First Amendment violation. So the state of Minnesota or the county rather, has filed their opposition to Hardin, basically suing the county to get access to the footage. That's the latest update. It was a couple days ago. Right now, Hardin's actually involved in filing an amicus brief at the Supreme Court in support of another thing. So I keep him busy.
What footage are you guys talking about, for those of us who are not intimately familiar with the Rekieta case?
Earlier, was it the middle of last year, Rekieta, who was a respected internet lawyer, in the midst of a drunken downfall, had his home broken into, and they found a copious amount of cocaine in plain view of the entrance of his bedroom. And there was body cam footage, but it's Minnesota, so you have to have either a reason to have access to it, you have to be a party involved, there has to be like a cop shooting somebody in it, or it has to be entered into evidence, which they did. But now they're pretending that they didn't enter it into evidence, and for some reason the county is playing along with it. I think because it's a very close knit rural area of Minnesota, and they do each other favors.
Have you thought about just taking the bar at this point?
Yes, I have. It's just that it's a serious process. I'm a fucking loser. I'm a high school dropout technically, and then I went back to do like an online education thing, and I got an Associates of Arts. So I'd have to do 2 years of school, and then I have to do 3 years to get a JD, and it's just like that's a lot. They don't JDs are for whatever reason one of the only things you can't do online these days. So you would have to actually go in person to the school. And it's like I'd have to move near a city that has a law school I want to go to, and it's just like, you just pay people to do that these days.
Yeah, there's people have different theories about people who control the world. There's the Jays, the Quakers. I've heard one sort of person do or lizard people. I've heard one a rather convincing version of this that puts the trial lawyers union in America as like whatever Zog central headquarters or whatever ruling the world.
I can ask my attorney what he thinks. I've never heard of the trial lawyers union, but it's very surprising because his initial practice was in the District of Columbia, and I think that he's still somebody who he's very active in FOIA cases. He believes very strongly in government transparency. So I think in 1 year in particular, he filed half of all FOIA lawsuits in the entire country by himself. So he has strong opinions about certain things in DC. Ask real quick. Does the trial lawyers union control the country? Question mark. He's working on something right now. He likes it when I when I annoy him, distract him in the middle of his work.
Watch out, he might invoice you. You know how these guys are.
He's very merciful. When I ask him stupid questions at 11 p.m., he doesn't invoice me for them.
Okay, so and we've hinted at this here, but I do want to go into your background as the most persecuted man on earth. So I don't know what time frame. We'll just go 3 months. In the last 3 months, and you're not someone who just showed up to the internet yesterday. What all has banned you in the last 3 months?
In the last 3 months? I mean, I'm already banned from everything. So are you just trying to take like a sample, like a soil sample, and be like, what could possibly still be banning him in the last 3 months?
I guess let's go to the Stripe thing, because I think that's most pertinent to. We've had this.
I've been unbanned from Stripe. The Stripe banned me years ago, so them unbanning me was actually a recent revelation. I was banned and unbanned by Kraken within 2 days. I have no explanation for that, but I did get a direct message from the CEO, so I have a vague idea of what happened there. But
well, if people don't know, like if we go to the situation before the Trump executive order. If Stripe doesn't like you and you're a content creator, what situation does that put you in? What options do you have? I mean,
Okay, before I answer that, let me say that my lawyer responded. He says that they do not run the country, but they do run certain states, and Florida in particular is a really bad state to be against the trial lawyers union. So there you go. It's a state by state thing.
I am a Floridian, so that's probably why I heard it like that. But go ahead.
There you go. He speaks the truth. He speaks truth to power. So the question was why does everyone ban me, or what would happen to a streamer if they got banned from Stripe?
So I don't know what Stripe is. I had heard in the past like, oh, Visa banned this person. Wow, now that makes things difficult. Now they're going to be using Bitcoin or whatever. I was sort of reading about this thing, and I didn't realize like the tendrils of this random website that was so powerful. Yes.
It's difficult to explain, and it's difficult to understand, and I firmly believe that is by design. The financial system that we use to buy and sell things in the United States is extraordinarily opaque. It is completely controlled by private enterprise. You have no right to know anything that's happening. You have no right to access it. So like in Europe, they have the IBAN system. So you register with your bank. Your bank has an IBAN number, or rather it has a different number. You have an IBAN number that includes information about your bank. But when you transfer money, it goes directly through the European Central Bank through the IBAN system, and it's a bank-to-bank instantaneous process of transfer. And it's sort of like ACH in the United States, but it's different and better in certain ways. In the United States, it's very different. And we may think that we have many banks in this country and that they can do business with each other. But the truth is that many small banks, they have to do business with bigger banks for almost everything. Whether it's issuing 30-year mortgages, they have to have larger banks that they do business with. But in terms of dealing with credit cards, the credit card system is pure evil. And the number of steps between swiping a card and the merchant receiving that can be 7 different steps. There can be a company that handles the card swipe. That's called a payment gateway. There can be a company that handles passing the card swipe data to the payment facilitator or acquiring banks. And then there's 2 different acquiring banks. And those acquiring banks are very large companies like JP Morgan Chase or Wells Fargo. They maintain a relationship with Visa Card, MasterCard, and Discover Card, and American Express. And it's like, if you have an issue anywhere in that system, you're gone instantly. And you'll never be told why. You'll never be given a chance to fix the issue. And you don't have any right to know. So if, for instance, Discover Card says that we don't like his content, and they inform their acquiring bank that they don't want to underwrite your account anymore, then what will happen is that Stripe, for instance, if you're using Stripe as a payment facilitator, will tell you you violated their terms of service. And you'll ask, what terms of service did I violate? And I said, please read section 10.3, prohibited businesses. And it'll be a big, long list of things. You might scroll through it thinking, God, what did I do? And then you'll notice that one of those paragraphs says, and any business that violates the prohibited businesses clauses of our acquiring banks, third-party merchants, or payment networks like Discover Card. And so it's like you just get told one day you don't get to do business anymore, and you have no way of knowing. You have no way. Again, you can't fix it. You can't say like, well, what am I doing? And what they tell you is, if you ask that, what they tell you is, our fraud and risk management practices are a trade secret of our business. Because and what they're saying is like there are people that do credit card fraud. So they're kind of saying, like, if we tell you what we look for in a prohibited business, then we're helping the bad guys cheat the system better. So this is a trade secret. We can't tell you what you're doing. You can't reapply. Our decision is final. Don't bother contacting us. We don't have a phone number. And don't bother suing us, because this has all been tested in court and we can do whatever the fuck we want.
It's like the secret sauce of the banking industry.
The probably one of the biggest conceptions you get from, well, I won't editorialize here. So obviously, so you just described a pretty dystopian system, things that we were warned about. Oh, in China, the government owns everything. So if the government hates you, well, you're going to be, you're going to be screwed up. In America, well, we have this little government. So the private businesses will do things, but all that private businesses ever care about is the bottom line. All they want to do is make money. Maybe there's once in a while somebody does something dumb because one of these corporate raiders are going to dump the stock or do some manipulation, but the business guys only want to make money. Why would a billionaire CEO, is he a DSP dent? Is this why would he care about me going to a website to read people make fun of Dark Side Phil? Why would they care about this?
It's a mystery. What the inner workings in the boardrooms, I can't tell you for certain, but there are a couple of theories. A really good one is that MasterCard, Visa Card, Amex, and Discover, which is owned by Capital One now. So Discover Card is just Capital One. All these are publicly traded companies. And you might remember that during the Bud Light saga, it became very well known that Vanguard and BlackRock buy up stock based off certain things that are not necessarily market indicators, such as DEI and how they score on ESG type things. So there is a theory that they stay in that realm of trying to not do business with unsavory folk, because somehow that would impact their ESG score, and therefore that could cost them potentially billions of dollars in evaluation if Vanguard decides to sell 1%. And by the way, Vanguard and BlackRock, and there's a third one, they own 20% of each of those companies all the way through. So it's like if they sell 1% each, that stock tanks by billions of dollars because these are massive companies. So that's theory one. I like that theory. Theory two is that they are working for their bottom line, you see, but what they're doing is trying to save money by not pissing off the government. So you brought up China and how China directly controls like payments through WePay or whatever. There is the theory that the government in the United States is even scarier. And this is one of my favorite things to say is that China will straight up tell you, look, we don't want skeletons in your game. That's very scary, and it's not very Chinese of you. So no skeletons, no spooky ghosts. We don't like those things. And also, you can't portray Mao Zedong in that way. Or, you know what, you should probably just drop everything about Mao Zedong. We don't like that. And they'll just tell you, and they'll give you, like, which is merciful. And when you compare it to this system, it's merciful. They'll come talk to you and be like, look, you're fucking up, and we don't like that. And if you want to make money in the Chinese market, XYZ, fix it. In the US, it's like, okay, so vaguely we have these guidances on regards to handling reputation and risk management when doing business with a certain individual. I guess this could sort of kind of be considered risky. Why even bother risking it? They're a small client. They only make $200,000 a year or whatever, which, you know, we take 3% off every transaction and it's not that much. It's like, you know, in their heads, they're thinking if we get sued or have to deal with administrative bullshit in regards to this client, our business attorneys are going to cost 20 times whatever we're making from them. So it just doesn't make sense to even bother because the government's not going to come, you know, be like, knock, knock. Oh, you're platforming all these hateful bigots and that's against the rules. And by the way, they don't want to do that because then you could theoretically sue. There could be like a thing. So they're just really scary and they don't want to deal with them. Theoretically, you know, they could be in cahoots, but theoretically that could be, you know, the situation. And, you know, the third would just be that they are collaborating because effectively this public-private partnership where you have a mandatory system, which if you want to get super conspiratorial about it, what has happened is that the government has regulated financial services to such a degree, especially after 9/11 with the Patriot Act, that it's impossible to make free market competition to these companies. You're either a multi-billion-dollar company already, or either a multi-billion-dollar bank already, or you don't get to compete because it could cost, I think I heard a number once that it's about $70 million to get licensed to be a card network. In every state. So if you want to make Bog Beef Card or whatever, you would have to spend $70 million just getting set up. And that's not even including what it would require to get, you know, to start your own financial institution and put money into that and get licensed for the bank and everyone. It's millions of dollars to do this. And then what happens? Okay, you have Bog Beef Card. Congratulations, you're a payment network now. You don't do business with anybody. You have to persuade the same exact banks that are already causing problems. Wells Fargo, Capital One, you know, JP Morgan Chase, the big acquiring and underwriting banks that Stripe does business with anyways. And then it's like, okay, so you're a card network and you managed to persuade all these banks to let Bog Beef Card sit next to Amex, Discover, American Express, or MasterCard, Visa Card. And now you're one of the big four. You're the fifth. Well, guess what? I'm a merchant and I want to sell stuff. I still have to use a payment network. So I'm still on Stripe to process Bog Beef Card. You don't roll out your own payment processor through that. The only disruption that we've seen in this industry since the 1970s is payment apps. But if you look at the payment apps, guess what? They're all owned by the same companies. What are the big ones? I think Venmo is a big one. I think Venmo's owned by PayPal. PayPal is the worst of the worst. I don't know. Like, they're not even related, but they're the worst of the worst. So they're somehow, you know, a circle below MasterCard, Visa Card in terms of dealing with them because they're not even like a bank or anything. They're just pure evil. And they somehow are, you could thank Elon Musk for that. The other one is Zelle. Zelle is owned by, I think, First Warning Services. They are a risk management provider. They're the risk. I've been emailed by risk management letting me know that there's some details about my credit report that very concerns them, and as a result I can't do businesses with certain payment processors. So the First Alert, Zelle, they own Zelle, and so you can't rely on that. And it's like the one app is owned by Capital One or something. It's like every one of these apps that have came in to try and disrupt the credit card scheme. They're more of the same, and they're also owned by the same banks. So there's no escaping it. The closest that we ever came was cryptocurrency. And as someone who has handled cryptocurrency for over 10 years, unfortunately, I'm not a secret billionaire. I've had to spend it to pay for rent. So there was a point where I was selling Bitcoin for less than $100 each. I sold Ethereum at $11 once upon a time because I have to pay for things. But in all that time, and having been to bank for all that time, I have never managed to persuade even a majority of the users on the Kiwi farms to adopt cryptocurrency. And the onboarding process for cryptocurrency has a sleazy thing. So it's like when they have to start showing passports and I don't know if you've tried to register for an exchange now, but you have to like hold up your passport next to your face and smile and then frown and turn your head left and right so they can do biometrics of your face into your cell phone. It's like the creepiest shit. And nobody wants to do that to buy sleazebag coin so that they can spend it on a terrorist tranny killer website. You know, they just it's very deterrent. So I've never managed to get people to do that.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you mentioned that we're not a bank. Obviously, I read that quote that Stripe gave to you. I won't go into it, but if you are interested in the whole BlackRock thing, like our sponsor is like the biggest warrior against BlackRock, Will Hill. But anyways,
I have a question about you were banned from Stripe for a long period of time, correct?
Yes. So I'll clarify. I've been banned from Stripe for every business I've ever tried to use them for, and I've been banned from Stripe. Oh, this is frustrating to explain. Stripe, big company, many products. Core product is payment processing. So they'll even give you physical devices so that you can swipe credit cards and stuff in real life, or you can integrate it into a website and process payments that way. Many websites do this. So you'll see often checkout with Stripe or whatever, checking out. That is the core payment processing thing. The one thing they also do that is extraordinarily frustrating to deal with, even more so than their bullshit payment processor thing, is that they handle payouts for a variety of companies. And you might think these are awesome, cool, alt-tech websites that are freedom of speech. Gibson Go uses Stripe to pay out. Kick.com uses Stripe to pay out. Odyssey used Stripe to pay out. They got banned and they've switched to something else now. Rumble uses Stripe to pay out. Locals uses Stripe to pay out. So every single one of these alt-tech websites that you think is super awesome, like freedom of speech, they are all bottlenecked through the same fucking thing. So when I'm plugged into it and I'm a creator and I'm trying to collect money that people want to send me, I'm continuously getting my account shut down by Stripe because they're like, you've been previously banned on Stripe. And that is what they gave me access back to. I still can't process payments through them, which I would like to do because I sell merchandise when I have a payment processor available to me, which lasts precisely one run before they figure out that I'm on their network and they ban me because people report me and stuff. But are
you selling guns, drugs, dangerous things? What are you selling?
I sell the worst of all. This is it's illegal in 14 states. It's T-shirts with little kiwis on them.
And so if anybody in this long chain that you described, so like if John MasterCard picks up the phone and says, "Hey, I heard that you're doing business with Josh Moon. Stop this immediately," then
shut it down.
It all grinds to a halt.
Yes.
Right. So did you, after the executive order, the debanking executive order that Trump did they unban you after that?
Tell him what action did you take after the Trump executive order? This is wonderful.
Okay, so after Trump's executive order, I tried contacting them, and they said our decision was final. We're not reversing it. I tried contacting them again later, more forcefully, and this time I actually somehow acquired a list of every single person who worked at Stripe, and I therefore sent an email to every person who had risk in their title, all the way up to the global risk officer. And I said, "You're violating I even spelled his name out, President Donald John Trump's executive order." And
this is why I want you take it on England. Sorry, continue.
I sent them the letter, and I wrote, and my letters, I have a rule. one page. If I can't at 12-point font fit on one page with my return address at the top, if it doesn't fit, I don't send it because nobody's going to read that shit. So I sent them a very concise letter explaining exactly how I hate them, how they're violating the executive order, how I'm going to continue sending emails to them, and I will continue to send letters. I send physical letters with SpongeBob stamps on them to the federal government explaining how my rights have been impugned by Stripe. And then at the very end, and this is what did it. I had one last paragraph and I said, I don't even want to do business with you. But if I do business with any of those companies I just mentioned, I have to do business with you. And it's like, I don't want to ever think about you ever again. And then they sent me this very long reply. And the gist of it was, I swear to God, we are not a financial institution and therefore we're not covered. Now, the executive order was very clear that it covers financial services. A financial institution is a credit union or a bank. They're right. They're not a credit union or a bank. They are a financial service that is covered by the EO, and their reply is complete bullshit. But after they sent me this reply, basically saying we don't consider ourselves included in the EO, I got another follow-up letter saying, after further review, we've unbanned your Kik and Gumroad account. Oh, Gumroad. I forgot to mention Gumroad. They're all on Stripe. I'm telling you. All of them.
My God.
Gumroad is too?
Gumroad is Stripe. If you want to get paid on Gumroad, you're going through Stripe. You're getting your W-2s from Stripe. So all of them. There's no option. I think Subscribestar even. I've never done Subscribestar. I think Subscribestar is also Stripe. So you have no choice. You want to get paid? You want to do stuff on the internet and get money for it? Cryptocurrency and Stripe. Pick your poison.
I wonder if Patreon was on Stripe.
Patreon?
Patreon. You remember that one?
Yes, I was on it. Briefly before I got banned.
Oh God. You got banned from Patreon.
No, I didn't get banned from Patreon. Patreon got banned.
Okay.
Yeah, no. I'm trying to remember. I think it might actually be on Stripe or something. I don't remember how they worked. So I'll tell you what I'm doing instead now. And this is honest to God. I'm not making this up. This is not bullshit. I discovered once upon a time, because I've just returned to the United States. I've been outside the United States for about 10 years. So I've just gotten back. I'm getting to the swing of things again. And I'm in a little bit of culture shock. Things are different than I remember. And I was just setting up my utilities and stuff. And the utility company didn't accept online payments. You have to actually mail them a check, which was strange because it was like a small local utility company. And I set up a thing where I did bill pay online. So you go to your bank and you ask them to mail a physical check to this institution, and they will actually print out a check and mail it to them. And while I did this, I was thinking, that's interesting. That doesn't seem like it goes through 27 different middlemen. It goes through the USPS, and the USPS cannot deny me service, even if they would really want to. So I started talking, and I found out that I can get a check deposit machine from my bank that can process 100 checks per minute. And then I can scan those checks and pull the memo off them, and using, OCR, and I can give people what they pay for based off the memo. And so I've been working to get this set up, and I'm going to break the financial system by having people physically mail me checks of $20 a month. And I think, if this doesn't work, I would love to see how, because it would be a very interesting problem, at least, because this is literally exactly what like IBAN is, but analog. It's multiple banks using the ACH clearinghouse system, using actual checks to send money between each other without going through any payment network. So I've been going old school. I've been sending letters and I've been writing checks, and I'm going to be receiving checks.
That's incredible. Oh man. So I guess we should get into the to the lawsuit. By the way, if people don't know, you want to get some background on, so you are webmaster, owner, Fuhrer of Kiwi Farms.
I'm just some fucking guy. But I run a website called the Kiwi Farms, which you cannot find. I think if you go to Google and type in Kiwi Farms, you'll get 20 different results about how we murder people by making fun of them. But if you go to kiwifarms.net, or right now kiwifarms.st, it will redirect you. But there was a time where we almost lost the domain, so it's kiwifarms.net. We'll get it back one day. We're returning to the fatherland. It's a website. It's about internet drama. It's about people talking about people on the internet. It doesn't sound that controversial, but the main thing is that when you talk about people and they don't like it, they start causing problems for you. And they'll cause problems for other people once they can't cause any problems for you. And if those people sometimes happen to be transgender people who are ex-Google employees with degrees in network engineering who are worth over $1 million, and you have evidence that they were accused of rape, they will go to extraordinary lengths to try and remove you from the internet because guess what? They also just so happen to be invested into a reputation management company that the former CEO or not CEO but chair board member of Wikimedia is a customer of, and their whole reputation management business is just removing stuff from the internet. So what a better indication of your product's quality than removing this one blight from the internet. And then of course everything else about them is gone because
it's amazing how. If you go pound for pound, like per capita, how influential transsexuals are in the West, because there's like a probably a couple, if we're being generous, a couple 100,000 of them in the world.
They are the ideal cog. They meet. They're such a perfect piece. I'm a big Kaczynskiist. I love Kaczynski's writings about the system. They are a perfect cog of the system, and because if you think about it, they are just so flawless for meeting the demands of a corporate culture with no real downsides until they get accused of rape. But we don't look at that and we pretend it doesn't happen. The transgender is incapable of rearing a family. They never need maternity or paternity leave. They never need time off with their kids. And oftentimes they don't have a good relationship with their parents. So they have almost no maternal bonds or family bonds to tie them down. They can move to whatever city on a moment's notice. The transsexual is an autistic man. Autistic people are very good at writing code. But as a man, they also meet equity barriers by being a gender minority and also technically a woman. So when they join your company, you can say we have a new woman employee in a field that predominantly is 95% male. Software developers are. So they look great for your ESG equity reports about employment things. And as a sexual minority, or they're all frequently disabled too. So you check. So you know, from that perspective, they're great. You have a female developer who never takes time off, will never have children, doesn't have any family, can move anywhere in the world. And then from outside of the corporate perspective, they are the ideal consumer too. What does a gay man who's addicted to pornography spend his money on? Bullshit, basically. Pornography and toys and consumer electronics. Do they need a bunch of land? No, they live in an apartment in San Francisco. So, you know, they know each other. They get together with each other. They go to weird, kinky BDSM sex clubs in San Francisco together. They all have dirt on each other because they all know who has child pornography on their computers and stuff. So they're very compliant. They're very malleable. They work well in the environment. They thrive in the environment of structure and soulless monotony and having nothing to look forward to because they're on SSRIs. It's just literally every single thing about a transsexual makes them the ideal component for a workforce like Google.
This does make me think of because when you look at all the people profiled on Kiwi Farms, by the way, any of the person that ever says, especially these journalists who say, "Oh, Kiwi Farms is the worst place in the world," these people sit on their ass in their house and they go on Kiwi Farms to get dirt on all the people they don't like.
Yeah,
they all fucking do this.
You can cut this both ways. Like, number one, the Kiwi Farms is fucking mild at this point. I've been on the internet my entire life. I've seen shit. It's not even close. It's not even that bad. I'm gonna be honest with you. I've seen worse on Reddit these days. And then yeah, that's the dark secret, is that you'll see things that happen on the Kiwi Farms, and then I'll see them talked about by people who have multiple million subscribers on YouTube, and they'll use screenshots that you can tell because it was captured on like some autist on the Kiwi Farms using Linux, and I'll recognize what a Linux font looks like, and I can say that was not captured by you, random YouTuber on Windows right now using OBS. That was captured by somebody on Linux, and it just so happens to have the exact same resolution as the screenshot on the Kiwi Farm. So it's like I see that this propagates outwards, and there's a great the far right really hates me, like actual neo-Nazis or people who would identify neo-Nazis, because a lot of their information ends up on the forum too, and it's very much a neutral free-for-all in terms of, like, I don't say that's not a valid target, because it's like, if people don't talk about people, it's not really my place most of the time to say you can't do that. So what they do is they call it info laundering. They'll say that like the CIA out to get them will post anonymously on the Kiwi farms to launder that information. But I like that term a lot, in that it is info laundering. It's like somebody is a whistleblower, somebody knows something, they post anonymously on the Kiwi farms, and then suddenly YouTuber Moist Critical is talking about it a week later. And it's
you should get like a 10% tax on YouTube, because every jerk off YouTuber now just gets the downfall of click random thread on Kiwi farms and just use exactly what's in the thread and put the little spooky sound in the background, and cha-ching, $100,000 video.
Well, the forum's favorite person to make fun of for doing that is Turkey Tom. But I feel bad for Turkey Tom because, like, for instance, we have a new guy on the forum in terms of content, and his name is Bossman Jack. He's my personal favorite at the moment.
We love Boss Man here.
Yeah. Okay. So when I first started watching him, he had less than 100 viewers. It's my fault. I made him a household name across the world. People in India will gather around the streets to look at the one TV so they can see Bossman Jack lose it all. That's my fault that he's now so successful. I take full credit. But when Turkey Tom did his video on Bossman Jack, it was like 5 hours long, and he basically just went down the forum and took every clip out of the thread and put together and talked over it. And my thing is, people identify that he did that, and they're right that he did that. There's no doubt. But what's funny is that I actually like Turkey Tom, because he's one of the only people on YouTube that will say, I just stole this shit from Kiwi Farms, and it's I'm going to make $100,000 off it when YouTube gives me 6 million views on this video in a week. And it's like, I respect that. You know what I mean? It's like, at least you're acknowledging that, where you got your sources from. I can't expect people to tithe me like I'm the Pope, but I appreciate the people that are bold enough to acknowledge that we exist, because people like Hassan Piker, he will do the exact same thing. H3 has this big scandal. He reads a bunch of screenshots of stuff about H3 right off the Kiwi Farms. You can tell, again, the same screenshots. But if you mention the Kiwi Farm, if somebody does a video that's in his friend group that mentions that this was on the Kiwi Farms, he will pause the video and directly admonish him and says, don't mention that site, and then go and play the video again. So they all do it again.
Yes.
They all do it, but they don't like to admit it.
Yeah. Speaking of which, tips for content creators: go find your thread on Kiwi Farms and start threatening lawsuits and telling people you're going to beat them up. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know where you were going with that. But when you said find your thread, don't do it. Don't do it.
Don't ever do it.
The number of people that they get obsessed with, like, it's a skill you have to learn when you create content on the internet, is who to pay attention to, because many people will complain in ways that look like they're making a genuine complaint and are giving advice, but they're just being dickheads. So you have to actually sit down and think about, like, who do I listen to? Who has like genuine feedback? And if you're just like paying attention to people who are making fun of you, you're going to go crazy.
Yeah. Do you really, and this applies to anybody, would you really want to know what everybody thinks about you? Like the people you know in your life? No, you would. That would be horrible. That would be that's funny that's a superpower in fiction. Like, oh, you can read someone's mind. No, that would be the worst thing. You'd kill yourself after like 3 days. It would be awful. Just don't do it. Don't give in to the temptation.
Yeah, and the people who because you can go on some of these threads and people are like, oh, this guy is bad, or CIA or Jew, whatever, blah blah blah. The only what matters is like when you see like the screenshot and it's got that typewriter text and it's like October 9th, 1994. The arrest record with the whatever, the pedophile in arrest, these kinds of shit or whatever. Like, yeah, it's going to be on there and you're not going to be able to sue it away. But it's just ridiculous because, I don't know, maybe it was as a millennial, you're growing up and we were just basically taught to I don't want to go over the top, but almost worship these things like what is Deep Throat and what are the Pentagon Files, whatever, which was essentially like, there were free speech basically drop sites of information like when people talk about whistleblower, like this is the only way whistleblower works is for there to be a place like Kiwi Farms or whatever to drop your stuff. And I just want to right now, I just like, if we're conservatives. A lot of conservatives right now feel very, very comfortable. I don't know if you've noticed, you said you just got back to the States. You notice everybody says retard again. You notice this?
Yes.
It's amazing. And you can say this anytime you want now. We're all very, very comfortable. And maybe I'm a glass half full guy, but it was like 3 years ago. It was the most like 1984 bullshit what we've ever seen. People say, have you seen, Sargon's out tweeting and stuff like this? We went through many, many years where if you were going to go online and look at conservative content that wasn't, deeply, deeply censored, you're going to be watching Quartering or Ben Shapiro. That's it. And so what I'm worried about is that you've been around a while. Do you think people could sort of take the current moment as being too comfortable, and that, like, let's say if there's a political change, this person gets elected, that person gets elected, whatever, that they could be in very, very much desperate need for, or hell, just look across the pond at the United Kingdom. How difficult would it be for us to be in a situation where people would be desperately needing? And by the way, when we talk about that, like, you have things like the Christchurch footage, very, very important events. The only place you could find this truth, this vital information, was Kiwi Farms.
Well, okay, yeah. There's several parts to that. I'll start with the easiest first. There were 2 instances where the Kiwi Farms, I believe, contributed to countering a narrative which was state mandated. Basically, it was a social media requirement. The first was that the Christchurch shooting footage was almost completely obliterated from the internet. It was somebody on the forum who happened to get a live stream, get access to the Facebook live stream and download it, and then they gave it to me, and I fought very hard to keep the footage on the internet, while not only it was the most traffic we ever had. We had over 40,000, I think like 24,000 people concurrent trying to access the footage. So I even spun up a torrent, and I remember watching all the torrent trackers drop the file because they didn't want to touch it. We had New Zealand hounding us in the emails, and the end result was that we preserved the file. But I remember I got nastygrams from New Zealand and all these, journalists that are just scum of the earth. But the only other emails that I got regarding it from the United States law enforcement were police departments that were like, we're afraid that there's going to be a copycat shooter of this, and we need training material. Can you get us the file? So if they couldn't figure out how to use BitTorrent, I think there was like at least 5 different police departments across the U.S. that contacted me asking for a more easily downloaded version of the file, which I was able to provide them with. So that was an instance where things almost got deleted. And the other big one, this is one of the biggest threads on the forum in terms of cultural impact. There is a thread called
the May 1st burst. No, I'm just kidding.
No. Only just select few people that is the most culturally significant. But for the broader people, for the broader society, there's a thread called SRS and GRS, gender reassignment surgery and sexual reassignment surgery. Let me get the actual title for it because it's kind of gruesome. SRS and I'll say the sexual reassignment surgery and genital reassignment surgery, surgeons and associated horrors. And this is a thread that basically just goes on Reddit and looks at different subreddits where transsexuals post and collects photos of them sharing their pre and post-op surgery results. And it is some of the most horrific shit you've ever fucking seen. It is a man's pelvis with a gaping hole cut into it, oftentimes infected, oftentimes oozing. Things like the clitoris, which is just the head of the penis they sew on to make a clitoris, the clitoris dangling by a thread. It's disgusting. And to normal people, they hear about them, they have a very high level of trust with science, and they hear doctors can fashion a vagina out of the components of a penis, and they can live happy, long, successful lives as a woman, and nobody would ever know. And you hear that, and it just comes out of the blue, and you're like blinking, staring into the light of this, and you're just like, I guess that makes sense. Medicine's crazy these days. And then you hear about them doing it to kids, and it's like, we got to do it as early as possible, because if we don't do it, they go through male puberty, and then it's a big disaster. But then you look at people like Blair White and the little Jewish boy that I forget his name, Jazz Jennings. Jazz Jennings had went on hormone blockers as a little boy, and as a result, his penis never developed into a man's penis. And they tell him, we can't do the surgery on you because you don't have any meat to make a vagina out of. So you're going to have a little boy dick your entire life. Blair White said, I'm just going to find a man who's going to fuck me with my little boy dick. And he did. But Jazz Jennings says, no, I want the surgery. And they broadcasted this on television. He's in pain. He's on painkillers. There's things falling off that are not, like the lining of the vagina that they've created the staples are coming out. And, all this, people just have this natural trust of authority and of medical doctors. There's no way that a doctor would actually be doing Joseph Mengele Frankenstein experiments on little kids' pelvises, like with their genitals. There's no way that we're in 2025. That doesn't happen anymore. And then you just go to this thread and you click through the postmarks or the highlights, and you see success story after success story. And if you manage to make it past the first one, it just keeps going and going and going. And you're thinking, they are literally convincing little boys into thinking that if they just trust the science hard enough and take the HRT blocker and go into Mr. Goldstein's lab of horrors, that they'll become a woman at the end of it. And they're just being sexually mutilated. And the suicide success rates after the transition, the sexual reassignment surgery, is higher than before. So they're just killing people. There is no happy ending. You just die horrifically in agony on a cocktail of painkillers and hormone replacement therapy. And it's just, that is a thread where, in the darkest days, when this went from just like a Tumblr thing to an international phenomena that swept probably millions of children into it at this point in time. And in the darkest days where social media had a complete and total blackout on any information that would convince people transgenderism is not a perfectly acceptable and healthy, normal, natural way to live, this thread definitely showed millions of people, disseminated to millions of people, evidence to the contrary. And I think that if there's ever a history review of the Kiwi Farms, that'll probably be one of the silent workhorses of the outputs of the forum, is that thread. And it's I think it's about 1750 pages in total. So it's not even one of our longest threads, but as far as like impact, I think it's way out there. It's probably one of the number one thing.
And when I click this thread, am I watching a propagandist give me an editorialized speech, or am I looking at evidence that, like, what like,
you're looking at a picture of a gaping hole in a man's pelvis on Reddit with the title of this picture being, "Does this look normal?" That's what you're looking at. And or 14 weeks post-op, I'm not happy with the results. Does it get any better? Please give me, like, they'll even specifically say, like, please give me hope or something. Like, please give me hope that this is going to work out. And they'll compare doctors and be like, oh yeah, this doctor in Thailand is the worst of the worst. You'll never go there. And that person has a thread. And these threads, by the way, they all have millions of views. The trannies posting their L's online thread that has 9 million. The Jazz Jennings thread has 6 million just on its own. The tranny sideshows on social media, that's a great one, by the way. Absolutely. Here's a really fun thing to do. if you ever get super bored, go to Amazon, switch over to amazon.de, which is German. Type in panties or something, or like schoolgirl outfit, and just click one and then go to the reviews and look at the picture reviews. Every single thing, all of them. Everyone, and it's not even like oh that might be a man. It's like that is Uncle Olaf, 70 years old, Bavaria, wearing a schoolgirl uniform and saying that it makes him feel sexy in the comments. Like every single one of them. It's actually shocking. But you don't see that as much in the US version, and I don't know why. And it makes me think that the moderators in Germany are like completely hands off the issue, because you know how it is in Europe. It's scary in Europe. And the US are like, that looks bad. We have to do something about this.
We still have a modicum of shame here, which is funny.
No, self-preservation. It's not shame, it's self-preservation.
Well, I mean, real quick. I mean, have you heard? There are leftist transgender that are they're like they're saying like, hey, like we should who was the one who was in the X-Men movie?
Oh, isn't her name like are you talking about the blue lady, the remake?
It was a female. She was she was like a movie star woman, and now she says she's a guy.
Ellen Page.
Ellen Page
was Mystique?
No. I just knew they were in X-Men or whatever.
Okay. For some reason I thought you were talking about Mystique. I don't know. That's the only X-Men I know. I'm sorry, I'm not cool.
But they're like, hey, like we should like get this person off the internet, because every single interview Ellen Page does, they look like they want to kill themselves, and this is like not a good look.
I mean, she probably does. Ellen Page, I mean, all the little girls who go through the Hollywood machine, they all get molested. Like you see the pictures of the actress Emma Watson, who played Hermione Granger, and she's being like manhandled by what's his face, the fat
Harvey.
Harvey got her. And now she's like, she's like mentally ill. Ellen Page, not only was she a child actress, God forbid, her likeness was used by David Cage in Heavy Rain, was it? And her face and body were used for nude models without her consent. So that kind of stuff where people just like treat you as property, that fucks you up. Going through that system fucks you up. So I'm sure that like she is probably all fucked up. I think anybody that goes through Hollywood, especially little girls that go through Hollywood, you don't survive that.
Go ahead, Mary.
If you put your child into the film industry, you basically hate them. Like it's, I can't imagine why anybody would still voluntarily do that unless you're absolutely heartless. Because I mean, we've heard all the stories. Think about how many child actors end up just either dead or their lives completely ruined. I mean, some of them. I mean, you got someone like Gosling or whatever. Seems like he's normal, but that's kind of the exception, not the rule.
Mel Gibson.
If you want to watch, if you want to watch a documentary about that, Quiet on Set is really good. They talked to a boy who was in the Amanda Bynes show, and he basically just said, he doesn't say it outright. He kind of sidesteps it, but he says that he was in the hand. There was a guy that was like a well-known producer on the show, and he was basically living with him at certain points. And he says, like, I'm not going to tell you what he did to me, but just imagine the absolute worst thing you could do to a little boy, and it happened to me. Just imagine. Probably worse even, I think is what he says. Probably worse than that. And they talk extensively about Amanda Bynes herself, and she was picked out by hand by Dan fucking Schneider,
yeah,
and picked out by hand. So he saw something about her he really liked, and she was always with him. And there's so many pictures of him touching her, and there's so many pictures of her, because that motherfucker, he got the logo to be feet. The Nick, I remember even as a kid thinking, God, why is the Nick Jr. logo feet? That's kind of weird. And then there's all the clips of Amanda Bynes' feet, and then her getting like splooged on by like foam or whatever, and it just looks like cum. And it's just so blatant. It's so blatant.
What was that movie that was just straight up CP? Merrick?
Pretty Baby from the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, this. We talked about this before. This goes in waves. They were doing this pretty openly. I think that movie was probably worse than anything we've seen in our lifetimes because they had. Oh, I think it was with Brooke Shields, right?
Was that the is that the one where there's like like a child prostitute and she's like
Yes.
actually 16 or something in
Yes.
real life?
No, she was younger than 16, and
Oh.
they had her posing. She was filmed nude as a child prostitute. And this movie, if you look at the reviews, like Robert Ebert's like 2 thumbs up. This is brilliant artwork. So not everything has gotten worse over time. Like there are a few tiny things that we've gotten better about, and like this, like that Dan Schneider guy, he was like the big shot at Nickelodeon for how many years? For like 15 plus.
Yeah, he ran the joint for a long time.
Right, and even after they busted him, it's not like he's in federal penitentiary right now.
No,
like he's not in a show with Harvey Weinstein or anything.
The boy that I mentioned, he at a much later date, he actually, I can't remember the full context for this, but it was much later on, and he was in trial, and the guy that had been harming him was to be sentenced, and all the staff from Nickelodeon showed up to give character testimony in his defense about how he's a good person, and it's like you just heard this kid explain how he was like viciously sodomized over months, and you're here in the witness stand to give testimony to his character. It's like, how disgusting.
We had one in my town. It was a band leader, and they had all the girls from the band come out, like a high school band. They were like, he's never ever said anything to me. And it's like, and it was all girls. It was like, yeah, because he didn't like girls. And of course, you think about Nickelodeon, Orlando, everyone knew the guy that was running those boy bands and stuff. Old gross guy, 60 looking year old guy, looked like review tech, and he was like the manager of like I don't know, NSYNC and stuff. And it's like everyone knew, and then people kept dropping their kids off there because I mean that when people talk about, I mean, in my opinion, when people talk about child trafficking stuff, like I don't think it's perhaps I'm sure I think that does count for things like Hollywood and stuff. However, there are places in the world where this is like just a wholesale business, and from my understanding, it's mostly parents more or less selling their children into slavery. I mean, that's, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, it's yeah, there's kind of like that expectation. There's this weird thing, I don't know how to describe it, but if you ever watch something, especially a lot of YouTube videos that because people make YouTube videos and they use those YouTube videos in like their portfolio to try and get into actual productions. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you'll see like a kid that's in one, and you can tell she's got like a full face of makeup and she's like really acting. She's doing like an acting thing where you can tell she's like really trying to like do the lines and be emotive and stuff. And you can tell that this is something that her parents have done to put into her portfolio so that she can be a child actor in either a show or a movie at some point. And you just feel bad for her because to her, she's just playing a fun game where it's like, I'm going to be on YouTube. People are going to watch my video and it's going to be really fun. And then, she's like, oh, then one day I might get to be in TV. I might get to be in movies. And it's all just like, it's also tragic. And I don't know. It's hard to enjoy things now because whenever I watch stuff, I just think like, yeah, she probably was abused. She probably was abused. Yeah, she was super abused. It's like everything's just so mired in misery now.
Can we go back to the old days, like chaining your kid to like an oboe, or beating them when they get B's at school or something like that? Was maybe just go back to that.
Well, think about 20 to 15 years ago, and the libs were up in arms about beauty pageant culture and how awful it was and how exploitative it was. And I mean, I think that I'm not a fan of it either, even though I grew up in the South and people were still doing it when I was a child. But the libs had no problem denouncing this and calling it what it was because all the people who were into it were like mostly chuds, right? It was a lower class thing. They're not putting their kids in beauty pageants. However, throwing their children into the grist mill of Hollywood is perfectly acceptable, even though it's the same thing. I mean, it's probably worse, because even at the height of beauty pageants being culturally relevant and there being money in it, it wasn't like the people running it were super powerful, aside from like the Miss America contest.
Let me clarify something. I'm a Honey Boo Boo fan. I had a family that was big into Honey Boo Boo, so I happen to be educated on this topic. Shamefully, child pageants originally, before they became super weird, were a thing that were set up locally by by parents who were especially parents of people who were in pageants themselves. Because back in the day, you had beauty pageants were like state level. You had local beauty pageants, and it was just an excuse for women to like pretty up and try to look their best, and then get voted on. And then kids see that and like, well, I want to do that too. So they did kid pageants, and that was just supposed to be like your high school. You know what I mean? It wasn't supposed to be. And it never was, really. I guess there was like an international beauty pageant where, people started looking at this like, why the fuck are we doing this? what is the point of this? But yeah, it's a good comparison to make. It's true. The only difference really is the money. You make way more money in Hollywood. And I think that in our culture, anything that makes you a shit ton of cash can't be that bad. If you're an actor and you're doing all these things, but you're getting paid $100 million per film, well, I guess people start thinking maybe I would too. Maybe I would go through all that for $100 million.
Yeah, everything's contingent. You could be like the governor of California's wife, and like 15, 20 years later, it's like this is a horrible hardship for me. But at the time, you felt differently about it. That's
There's the howling. Oh God, one of the great howling mutant tweets. Hell has no fury like a woman sexually assaulted 25 years ago. Let's leave that topic behind us. Now, shitting on England. Now, this is a lot of fun.
Here we go.
Everybody lately, we've all had our ass full of everything that's coming out of England. Are you familiar with this Twitter account, the UK YOOKAY?
No, I'm not.
The UK aesthetic. And by the way, before you go off shitting on England, you're wrong. It's not England. It is the UK. The people in the UK who like England, the government hates them. The government puts them in jail for holding up the flag of England. So this ain't an England problem. It's a UK problem.
I disagree. I hate the English.
I knew this was going to come out. Hey, look, man, you're the interviewee, so you're going to get to speak your piece. We certainly have. Whatever. Yes. So, I
made a Z, and people gave me shit for it. That says I hate the English. Basically, is the short of that message. I hate the English. I can explain why. My first real serious encounters with the English have always been terrorists. So the UK, they have a welfare system, and if you don't want to work, you don't have to work in the UK. So if you're a mentally ill lunatic and you live in the United Kingdom, they'll give you free housing. They won't require you to get a job. They'll pay for your bullshit. They'll give you cash, and then you're free to spend that cash on being and that time that you have, not having to worry about your basic needs, being an absolute menace. There have been multiple people from the United Kingdom who are on welfare, who subsist on government handouts, and they use their abundance of free time to swat either me or my family or service providers. And the UK does absolutely nothing about them. I have handed the FBI and their government and their, the constables or whatever, and the local constables that are in their area, I can give them conclusive proof that these people are using anonymizing services to call the police in the United States to try and kill people. It's attempted murder, because if they get an armed, unannounced break and entry into a home, someone can be shot on accident. Animals get shot. It causes property damage. It's an extremely dangerous thing. And the UK has never, ever, ever done anything about a UK citizen in the UK, not hiding abroad in the UK, using their abundance of time afforded to them by the welfare state to terrorize Americans. And it seems deliberate. I can't think of any other explanation. It seems like they just fucking hate Americans. And when you talk to Angloids, as I like to call them, The Angloid, for whatever reason, is arrogant, smug, condescending, will talk down to you. They genuinely believe that they are better than you. And if you ever try to criticize anything about their stupid, shitty fucking country, they'll point to you and say, what about that white birthweight? Sad, isn't it? And it's without fail every time. It's like you can't talk to them, and I just despise them. They're the worst. And you know what really pisses me off more than anything else? I say this. I have my own podcast, Man at the Internet, and I say this openly. Whenever the British come up, I say I fucking hate England. I fucking hate Englands. They love me. British people love me, and they say, Josh, you're the only American who doesn't have this false nicety to them and just says I hate fucking English people. And it's like when I talk to an American, they're always smiling and say, oh, God, what is the thing that they really fucking hate? I don't know. They just hate how Americans are so smiley and nice. Like, I don't know you. I'm English. I don't know you. I don't want to talk to you. We're not friends. I've never met you before. And bless your heart. Oh, that's so insincere. Fuck you, lady. That's how British people think. And then I'm like this, and they love me for it. So that irritates me even more. Like, I'm not trying to be endearing. I don't like you.
Well, that makes you a perfect. That makes you an even better protagonist here for your mission. So, can you give us the background on this case? How did this come about, and why you feel passionate about this?
The United Kingdom passed a law that mandates age verification effectively within the United Kingdom, and enforces that service providers wishing to offer services to people within the United Kingdom have a plan to enforce their law. And I don't know the specifics about it, but what I do remember is that if you break this law, you will be fined. And I think it's something absurd, like 5% of your entire global turnover as a company. It's like, theoretically, it can be tens of thousands of dollars. And it can even be imprisoned. I think they threatened to imprison Hiroyuki Nishimura, who runs 4chan, with if he failed to enforce the rules of the law. And my precedent has always been that I don't care. But when this happened, I'm a bleeding heart. As much as I hate the English, I blocked them. I blocked the entire country, and I said on this error page that it would give you a 451 unavailable for legal reasons, and it would explain how to use Tor to access the kiwi farms in a way that the government could not spy on, because the government, even with HTTPS, they can see that you're connecting to certain sites. When you, for instance, even with sites hiding behind cloud, and I was wrong about this. I thought that the Kiwi Farms was uniquely vulnerable to this because you have to connect to certain IPs to connect to us. Whereas with Cloudflare, you always connect to a Cloudflare IP shared with a million other sites, right? But I found out that actually they can sniff the packets and determine the domain name that you're connecting to, even if it's a shared IP, through the SSL handshake. So when you connect to a website protected by HTTPS, the data of that site is encrypted, but they can tell that you're accessing kiwifarms.st, even if that IP is shared by 10 million other sites. So they can tell that you're connecting to this site that is on Ofcom's naughty list, and they might pay you a visit. If for instance, a real example of how metadata is used, let's say that there's a cheeky post about transgender folks that they don't like that was made at 10:53 UTC British time, and also they just so happen to know in their giant database of sniffing all the packets and all the internet communications that there was a connection made from your house to kiwifarms.st at 10:53 British time. And they would come to your house and say, do you use the Kiwi Farms? Do you post on the Kiwi Farms? Does this post look familiar to you? And then they'll, even if they give you the warning, I love the English warning. It's the opposite of the Miranda rights. If you get warned that you're potentially facing criminal charges in the UK, they tell you that you can, if you choose to remain silent, your silence will be used against you as evidence that you're guilty. They straight up just say that. So that could happen to you. And it's happened. Carolyn Farrow uses the Kiwi Farms and her real name because there are troons. She's I want to say she's Anglican. She's married. No, she might be Catholic. Her husband's Anglican. That would make sense. But is a priest. And so she's very religious. She has 5 children. 4 of them have autism. and she is constantly legally harassed by a bunch of transgender people because she is a TERF. And she has been arrested multiple times for posts made on the Kiwi farms, and for posts made on the Kiwi farms that she did not post. She has her own account, but she's been arrested over allegations from transgender people that certain posts made were made by her, even though there's no evidence to support that. They caution her and warn her if she's silent, that will be used against her. That's how bad I'm telling you. It's not a fiction. This is the life that the Angloid lives in, and it's terrifying. I've tried to convince her to get the fuck out of there. Like, what are you doing? But so, okay. My point was that I blocked the site to stop that from happening to a bunch of other people. And the Ofcom said, we accept you blocking the UK as compliance. So after I said, we're just blocking the UK, they're like, okay, fine. I win then. Yeah, that was their official governmental response to me. And then they warned, by the way, we may at a later date review how you instruct people to use Tor as non-compliance, just so you know. So they threatened me. So we might come back and revisit this issue. Some point later, I received a lot of contributions from the users, and I pledged to upgrade the forum. So I started taking things apart, adding new hardware to the server. And while I was doing this, I was stripping the site down to its bare essentials so that it would run as quickly as possible before I started adding complexity back to it. And one of the things that I took down was our anti DDoS firewall, which was also how I blocked the UK. And in this brief window of like 1 week where I had this off, I got Ofcom back at me saying, we noticed that you took down the block. So not only were they checking sites, they were checking their list twice. And as it turned out, I was on it twice. So they sent me a follow-up letter. And this time I had been contacted by the attorney representing us in this matter, which is Preston. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. It's Byrne. If you know how to say that, please let me know so that when I talk to him, I will not embarrass myself by mispronouncing it. But it's like Preston Byrne or something. And
at some point, you need to tell us about why he's so uniquely qualified, because I think people will be impressed.
Of course. He went to the United Kingdom, studied law there, became a solicitor, and then at some point realized the UK sucked. That's my assumption. I don't know for sure, but I assume that he realized the UK sucks. Moved back to the US. I think he went to New York and then got a law degree in the US. So as it turns out, he's one of the very, very, very few dual solicitor lawyers in the UK and the US, which makes him extraordinarily overqualified to handle this issue of internet slap fighting.
So we have the perfect protagonist and the perfect attorney. Continue.
He also has solicited the help of Ron Coleman. I guess you already know this, but Ron Coleman is a profoundly Jewish man. Very happy to have him on the legal team offering his input, and also a Supreme Court victor. He was the presiding lawyer for the Slants. They were banned, and the trademark office told them that they couldn't trademark the name the Slants because it was racially offensive, even though they were Asian. Ron Coleman said that's bullshit. Took it up all the way to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court agreed that's bullshit. You can't deny a copyright or trademark based off the offensiveness of it. And so he is a Supreme Court victor, and hopefully his insights on this. He's very well respected. My attorney Hardin immediately recognized his name. So really cool guys. They're doing this for free, completely pro bono. The only thing that me and Hiroyuki are footing the bill for are actual court costs, because when you file with the court, you must pay certain expenses that they charge, and they're not having to pay out of pocket. Their labor is free, but other expenses will help with.
You can't have the Slants, but we have everyone knows the 1992 film gay N-word F words from outer space. I mean, that's totally cool.
Oh man, I don't it's probably the fact that they didn't try to trademark that name or service market or whatever. I imagine it's a copy, because the Copyright Office and the USPTO, which handles trademarks, and probably service marks as well, that's different. So the USPTO probably said, we're not doing that. Copyright Office probably copyrights whatever. And in fact, but probably the Copyright Office, I don't even know if that existed when that movie came out.
So you had the UK unblocked for a week, and Ofcom basically said, "Okay, now we're going to fine you because you're not compliant with our law, even though you're in the United States."
They threatened to fine me, and Preston at this point, I think he was disappointed. I decided to just block the UK the first time. After the second time, he's like, they're really building a case that we should do something. And with 4chan in particular, I think they directly threatened imprisonment. So we talked, and
Jesus.
Yeah, so we talked, and he pitched this idea for filing this lawsuit, and on its face, it's very much seeking a declaratory judgment that UK laws don't apply in the US, which should be quite easy. They don't. But he has. I don't know if this is public yet, so I shouldn't say this. But he has. He's conniving. He has a fun little game of Battleship that he's playing. There's a very precarious issue in the United Kingdom in terms of how Ofcom is acting and in terms of what Ofcom actually is. And he is hoping to catch them in a blunder. So he's playing like a meta game. I would be more than happy just to have the U.S. federal court tell the UK to shove off, because that's very, 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 very funny to me. That would be all I want. However, he has ambitions. He has lofty ambitions to help the UK help themselves, which I think is a lost cause.
I would assume Father Ted just got they put him in handcuffs as soon as he got off the plane because he made some spicy tweets about transsexuals. Not, if you're listening, not exaggerating, they handcuffed him and took him to jail over tweets that he made in the United States. And I believe he's not even a UK citizen. I think he's Republic of Ireland citizen, although he might have dual citizenship or whatever. Yeah. So, So I guess if could they arrest you if you went to the UK?
Well, by the way, they used to for arresting someone as they step off a plane. That used to be for guys that international jewel thieves or guys who ran the De Beers mines where they had 1 million Africans killed at, or what, for a tweet.
I have a theory with this in regards to why they behave like they do. I think that the police in the UK, they're so impotent. They're in a country that's filled with crime. There's all sorts of crime to tackle. And
speaking of tackle, have you ever seen them try to arrest a shoplifter or something? Yeah, it takes 30 of them.
Yeah, there's so much that they could be doing, and they can't for political reasons. They can't do things about the precious, the chosen people living in the UK now. And I think that it frustrates them. It's
the chosen people. You mean all the Jews robbing liquor stores and stuff?
Yes. No, they're not chosen by God. They're chosen by Keir Starmer. He's a different chosen. But I feel like they want to do something and they can't. So they just are like, okay, I guess we'll just enforce the only laws that we actually get to enforce as brutally as we possibly can, because it makes us feel like our lives have meaning. I honestly think that's what's going on with the UK police. Because otherwise they would literally be doing nothing.
Yeah, that's the enforcement side of anarcho-tyranny. It's that cops want to do something. They want to enforce the law, and if you look at those videos of the British police trying to arrest people or interrogating your nan for her Facebook posts, they're not sending their best. They don't look like the NYPD or the LAPD. It's like a lot of women, a lot of people who are wearing interesting religious headgear. They're not in very good shape. They probably couldn't. They couldn't go deal with if they try to do to London what Trump did with DC, where it's just send this massive sweep, go in and get rid of all the gang activity. They'd probably lose. So what else are they going to do?
I just want to say, we joke a lot, but I mean, this is a deeply, deeply evil organization, in my opinion. I don't know of any crime that involved lots of people and lots of people knowing each other, an active conspiracy than what happened with Rotherham. I mean, these people are, in my opinion, I don't know of any active institution in the world that is as evil as the United Kingdom's police force. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I try to be optimistic about stuff because I have a expression I've said many times, but it's like we have a quadrant here cut into four squares, and you have an x-axis and a y-axis, and then x-axis is your perception of reality, and your y-axis is actuality. And if you are a pessimist and things are fucked, they're still fucked, and you don't get a consolation prize for being right. If things are fucked and you're optimistic, then guess what? You're still fucked, and you might be a little bit disappointed before they hang you, but you know what? Nothing changed. If things are not actually fucked, but you're pessimistic, you might miss out on opportunity as a result of being pessimistic that causes you to fuck yourself. So, mathematically speaking, there's only one conceivable way to hold yourself in the face of any calamity or situation, and that is to be optimistic, because it is only by being optimistic will you find possible solutions to fix things. When I look at the United Kingdom, I have nothing positive to say, and I don't think the people there can fix it. And my reason for this is that the UK has suffered multiple dysgenic events that will prohibit them from ever being able to do anything. The brave, the courageous, the independently minded, they all left. They left the country to move to Australia, to move to Canada, to move to the United States. And then those who are with mettle and love for their country and who are very courageous and stalwart, they died in the wars. They died in World War One, which was absolutely horrifically sanguineous, and then they died in World War Two. Same story. Millions of young men died in this war. And who stayed behind? Gay people, the lame, the stupid. You know, those people, the elderly, the infirm, those were the ones left behind. And so the United Kingdom, I'm not just being a dickhead. I honestly believe that the people left behind in the UK, I'm sure there's some good people left, right? I know a couple good people who are English. I won't, it shames me to say this, but I know at least a few. So they're not completely wiped out. Okay. It's not like it's not India. It's not India. Not yet. But it's the majority of the people there are craven, and they're not independently minded. They think as a hive, like insects, and they're just absolutely afraid of everything, and they need somebody else to take care of them, and they will just allow themselves to be replaced. And if you're British, just get the fuck out. There is no shame. Okay, we all did it. My ancestors did it. We all left the UK. We abandoned king and country. And it's your turn. Last one off the Mayflower. Turn off the lights. Okay. I don't have any hope for your country.
Oh, you didn't have to sugarcoat it like that.
I do have an alternative.
World War One was especially bad for them, and I mean for everybody. But because it wasn't just that you just killed off a huge proportion of your young men. Like if you look at the officer death ratio in the British Army in World War One, it was horrendous. We've never seen anything like it since, and for good reason, because that whole class of people got absolutely decimated. And so that will happen again someday in the future, I guess, but we'll never see it in our lifetimes because those people are all dead. They're in the ground. It's
happening now. My theory, when I was growing up, I remember people lamenting that Darwinism is dead. We don't have any kind of evolutionary impetus. But the way I see it now with Elon Musk pushing Gunnar AI, there are people who are just never going to reproduce because they don't have self-control. And I think that's what's being selected for now. And we're in an era where every possible want and desire can be fulfilled within nanoseconds of wanting it. If I wanted a bag of tacos right now, I can literally, while talking to you, pull out my phone and order 52 tacos from Taco Bell, and I can eat it all. You know, like nothing stops me. If I want to gamble my life savings away, I can literally, especially because most of my money's in crypto, I can send that shit to stake right now, and I can lose all of it immediately in seconds. And if I wanted to, instead of writing nasty letters to Ofcom or the federal government, if I just wanted to masturbate all day, nobody could stop me. And those are the controlling factors now. That's what's affecting the birth rate, is that and mental health is like you see the actual consequences of people who have low impulse control in regards to food, in regards to pornography, in regards to gambling. That's a recent one. That's by the way, that's a culture shock. Is coming back to the United States and walking into some gas stations when I drive between states and seeing slot machines and like homeless people at slot machines in like a fucking mobile like gas station. And it's like,
did you see the story from game day Sunday? The public transportation shut down in one of these major cities. I don't know, let's say or San Francisco or something. Like the subway wouldn't work. FanDuel stepped in to restore service.
Is that a fantasy football thing?
Yes, FanDuel is providing public. I mean, this is like how government, after the fall of the Roman Empire, like the Pope steps up. It's like, okay, I'll manage the government. There's no Caesar anymore. Like a gambling website's like, okay, we'll run the city for a while. Looks like things are getting rough here. I mean, it's fucked, dude. However, I do have a cope here. If you are British, there's a theory, a really good theory. I like this one. Good men make good times, and the cycle of history theory. Under that theory, the English got to be the first ones out of this because holy shit. I mean, it's bad. It's bad.
We're closer.
So it's a cope if you need one. There's a cope, but sorry, go ahead.
It's a super cope. If you ever like, Germany has such a beautiful, long, rich history with some of the coolest fucking people, some of the most important inventors of mankind's history, and with some of the most important leaders of human history. And you look at the modern German, and you can only lament, and it's because in World War II they bled the entire country dry, the Volksstrom or whatever. It liquidated human capital, and then after it, the Soviets came in and the Americans came in, and whoever was left that was smart, we plucked them from their country. And it's like, you'll never. Anybody who's Germans are the same. Just get the fuck out.
we still occupy them. And they don't even complain. Yeah. Like I've been saying, like I'm an American patriot. Like what I would want the most for the German people is them to say, get the fuck out of our country. Why are you doing this to us? Why do you have your military bases in our country? Like
it's funny. One thing that I've realized back in the US is that if you ever talk to people who are military, they'll almost always, everyone has a story about going to Ramstein and being in Germany and living on base in Germany. It's like a thing where it's like everybody has to be stationed in Germany if you're in the military. It's like your one overseas adventure.
Yeah. So what is the where do you so what's the win condition for this case? What has to be proven?
Well, on its face, we simply have to prove that the United Kingdom is unable to enforce its laws in the United States. That
seems simple enough.
So, on its face, there's a couple subplots going on here that I don't want to discuss because I don't know if my Ofcom handlers are going to listen to this. But yeah, that's basically it. Is that we want it because it's just a thing. This is one of the few things that is bipartisan in the United States. You may not know this, but once upon a time, the United Kingdom was a hotspot for what's called libel tourism or defamation tourism, I think is what it was called. So people in Saudi Arabia who wanted to sue somebody in the United States for saying something that they disagree with, that they believe is defamatory, would take the case up in the United Kingdom, win by default, and then try to enforce their judgment in the United States. And some people were genuinely fucked over by this libel tourism because guess what? The United Kingdom is still considered important in a lot of different places in the world. So they would actually enforce the libel tourism judgments from the UK abroad. Congress got a hold that this was a thing and passed the Speech Act. And this was a bipartisan agreement in our government, I think recently, like 2012, like during Obama's administration, I want to say. And Congress, the government came together and said, fuck the English. go away. And they passed the law. It was a good law. They did a good job, believe it or not. And yeah, just a win like this is it's most on its face. It's just seeking a declaratory judgment from the federal government's judicial system, saying that British, especially British laws that would impugn our freedom of speech are unconstitutional and can safely be ignored. And there's a more specific reason for that. I think part of what he's afraid of, our attorney, is that in a worst case scenario, Ofcom might issue a fine and then try to enforce it on the bank, because this is what they did with Count Dankula. Count Dankula said, "I'm not paying your fine for your bullshit hate speech thing," and then they just said, "Okay, no problem," and they just straight up deducted the fine from his bank account. So that's true. If you didn't know that, he said, I will go to jail. I will fight this to the bitter end. They can lock me up. They can throw away the keys. I'm not paying that fine." They literally just yoink, took the money out and said, "We consider this matter resolved." And so he got the least satisfying ending possible for his Nazi pug thing. And that's what the attorney is afraid of, is that if the UK might send their thing to whatever bank that 4chan has an account with and says, "We're fining him 100 million pounds sterling," and they might just empty the account and close it. And that's the thing that could theoretically happen unless we have a nice ironclad federal court declaratory judgment that says the UK and its laws do not apply in the United States.
In the meantime, if I was if I went on vacation in England, I wanted to go on Kiwi Farms and call Review Tech a piece of shit.
Well, he's a white male, so you can do that all day.
Oh shit! Say
something about the Prophet Muhammad if you want to get spicy.
Okay, let's say I want to do that. You got to figure you should have a partnership with a VPN or something, right? But I'm sure you educate me.
Nobody wants to sponsor me. Are you asking how you would safely do that right now?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
You can get a VPN. The two that are really popular right now are Proton and Molvad. They've had their pros and cons. They're both okay. I use both, depending on what device I'm on. But if you are poor or you just don't want to support a VPN company for whatever reason, for absolutely zero cost to you, you can go to, I think it's the torproject.org, download the Tor browser, and you can access the Kiwi Farmers by Tor. If you just type in kiwifarms.st on the Tor browser, it might automatically redirect you, but if not, there's actually a little thing that I put in the responses that include the Tor URL, and the Tor browser understands these responses, and so it will actually, on every page, it will give you the option to click a button to switch to the Tor version. But if you're using Tor, even if it's Tor over ClearNet, you will have very good privacy, and you don't have to memorize the .onion URL if you don't want to. So you can either use a VPN. I think VPNs are still good in the UK. They haven't enforced logs in them like they have in Russia, China, and Belarus. So you can use a VPN, or you can just use Tor. Tor is very difficult to use, but I go out of my way to support it, so there's no issues there.
If I want to support the Kiwi Farms, what's the best way to do that?
Take out your checkbook, which you have, and fill in the number to whatever you want. Make it out to LOLCAL LLC, LOLCAL LLC, and mail it to P.O. Box 8158 in South Charleston, West Virginia 25303.
Oh wow. Okay. I for some reason I saw that LOLCAL. I thought that was Keem. I thought that was Keemstar.
No, that motherfucker's trying to steal my brand. He's trying to make everything local. And hey, no, I incorporated LOLCAL LLC in 2016, way before LOLCAL Live. He's trying to jack my swag. See how it is.
The because you're here, I do have like just some things I've been wanting to ask my whole life. If you're still good on time about LOLCALs, I would consider you a subject matter expert if there is one.
Yeah, I'm not an expert on all things, but if there's anything close to an expert on this earth in regards to silly people on the internet, I'd probably come close to that definition.
So I'm not like an old head or know everything. I watch like Kino Casino. I like watching their segments, like shitting on Review Tech and stuff like that. What am I like? What do you think about like one thing I see in all these sort of people and behaviors? How much of lolcowdom is like just addiction? Because it seems like there's a
Not a lot of
massive.
it.
Go ahead.
I would disagree with that. I think that
Okay.
there are tons of people out there who are addicts. You know, the Bossman Jack is a very bad drug addict, a very bad gambling addict, but he is definitely not a lolcow because of his addictions. There are many people out there who are gambling addicts and drug addicts who don't have a thread on the forum, and if they did have a thread on the forum, it would suck ass. Bossman is just funny. He's got a funny personality. He's got a funny way of presenting himself. I would say that the number one defining characteristic of a lolcow is, well, number one, they have to be on the internet. Basically, is a requirement. They have to voluntarily put themselves out on the internet. Number two, though, in regards to actual personality, they must actively refuse good advice. They must actively go out of their way to never learn. And the better they are at that, the better a lolcow they are. That's why Chris is considered the classic, because he never learned. Not a day in his life did he ever learn a lesson from the prior day. And he made the same mistakes all the way up to when I was last talking to him years ago, that he was making in 2000s, like 2007, getting tricked by the same tricks, and he never learned. And he's not really an addict to anything. He's autistic, but he's not an addict. Bossman Jack, I mean, you want to see the definition of insanity? That guy does the exact same shit over and over again. He presses the lose money button, and he gets angry that he lost money. Like sure, that's a gambling addiction, but like he's cognizant of it, and he refuses to in any way improve anything. Review Tech USA, I mean, what's he addicted to? Food and pot? I mean, that's not really. How many people out there are fat and smoke pot that aren't lolcows? A lot of people, millions of people are fat and smoke pot and aren't lolcows on the Kiwi farms. Review Tech USA, what makes him what makes Review Tech, and I don't know a whole lot about him, but every time I see a clip of him, he is just the most smarmy, insufferable cocksucker I've ever heard. His voice instills a vitriolic hatred of him.
I love him because he's my favorite one, just because he's just the most childish liar. Because I don't think that would sum up anyone. That's not Bossman Jack or anything, but he just cannot. It's like God made a person that just cannot tell the truth. It's the way
there's a lot of girl cows that are like that. Amberlynn and Chantal, they can never. Amberlynn in particular, to the point where it's almost like she's a pathological liar. It's like you have no reason to lie about the things that you do, but you do it anyways because I think you find it funny to lie to people. You know what I mean?
Who are the I've tried to tell people about Bossman Jack. Have you seen the video where he's riding with his mother to buy crack and he just looks so happy?
Yes.
Excuse me?
Yeah, he doesn't have a car, so he tells his mom that he wants to go meet a friend real quick, and he's just driving over to his drug dealer's house to get some crack. I like to call it. He likes to call everything a rooski. Like he'll go for a two for rooski or something, like a double rooski. He adds like a rooski as like a suffix to things to make it fun. So I call it crack a rooski, crack rock. So that's his jam.
Who are there any other up and coming rookies of the year that you would recommend other than say like Bossman? By the way, real quick on Bossman, if you're deep in Bossman, how could you estimate how much money was Bossman making a year at his
year?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, when he was in his best situation, he was on Kick.com, and he was also on Stake. Every day, I want to say they gave him $1,000. I think at least $1,000 to gamble with on stream. And then on top of that, I want to say he had 2,000 subs. So he was making like $9,000 just straight subs, not including any juicers he got, because when he ran out of money, people would just give him thousands of dollars to play with, and then he was also getting $1,000 a day. I think it's 1,000. It might even be higher. It might be 2,000 at his absolute peak. And then I want to say he had a different revenue stream. I added this all up at his peak, and I want to say it was like $20,000 a month that he was making. Theoretically, now obviously he's supposed to lose and gamble back a lot of his money that he gets from Stake. But if he had just set up his account so that his kick payments, for instance, would go to his dad, he would be in a great shape. Sure, lose your fucking gambling money every day, get juicers and lose that shit too. Who gives a fuck? Your dad's taking home $9,000 a month to take care of you. That's what he should have done. But nah, he gambled that shit too.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's professional athletes that make that kind of money. I mean, it's crazy. So yeah, love Bossman Jack. Who is there anyone else out there, the up and comers that I'm sure you see all everything?
I mean, the big locales right now are like fading star streamers. My other personal muse is Destiny. Does he go by any other name? The Omni Liberal on Twitter. You may know him as the guy that kickstarted Vouch's career. He's currently facing a lawsuit for non-consensual pornography. He revenge porned a girl.
He's almost got as many lawsuits as you do now.
Oh, I mean, theoretically he could. There's only one that's filed, but
okay.
He's gotten into trouble recently where it found out that one of the girls he was sharing pictures of was underage. Her boyfriend was prostituting her online, basically. And he didn't ask for ID, and he claimed that he had 60 or had access to 60 gigabytes of pornography that her pimp boyfriend was sharing around. Like it's crazy because he is like so big, and it was always like he was so like sexually promiscuous. He had an open relationship, and everyone was just, all of his fans, because they're super progressive, they're just like, he's just a cheeky little gooner. He's just our little gooner. He's our little goon boy. And he's just like, everything's consensual, everything's above board. And then it comes out, oh, he's sharing pornography of all the girls that send him nudes. It gets sloshed around in a big pile and shared with everybody without their knowledge.
Yeah,
that's my favorite locales are not usually like Boss Man Jacks or like super mentally ill people like Chris. I like people who have a lot to lose. And at any point, they can just shut the fuck up and stop being a retard. And for whatever reason, there's some compulsion where they're just like, yeah, I got to burn everything that I have to the ground. I just got to burn it all. It's too good to me.
Yeah, I mean, how many times could Ricada have just shut the camera off and just retired wealthy?
He could have just tread water as he was doing and been like a proper celebrity. Been like, I think a Legal Eagle is the guy now who gets million view videos and it looks really sharp in his suit and his like book room and stuff. He could have been like a Legal Eagle. He could have been someone who shows up on Fox News correspondent Nick Ricada has his legal take on this latest filing against President Donald J. Trump. Mr. Ricada, what do you think will be happening here? And no, now he's just the guy whose kid tested positive for cocaine. And it's like, all he had to do was put the brakes on it. And that, by the way, that's a great example of what you were asking before. Yeah, he's an addict. He was addicted to cocaine and also addicted to alcohol. But it was his personality, his absolute just insane level of narcissism that made him into the Nick Ricada that we know now. It wasn't the drugs and alcohol that was a component of it, but he sought out the drugs and alcohol because he thought he was a fucking rock star.
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect. Merrick, do you have anything?
This is not my field of expertise, but yeah, I mean, all I would say is that people think that narcissism means that you have a really high opinion of yourself, etc. But I mean, a lot of times that's not the case. Like, it is all about them, but they're also incredibly self-destructive. And I think my theory is they hate themselves too. Like, they think that you phrased this great one time that like, I'm a piece of shit and I'm the center of the universe at the same time. I think that's what compels them to self-destruct. But I don't know much about the subject.
Who's the guy that made Gonzo journalism?
Hunter S. Thompson.
There's a lot of people on the forum who have threads who think they are Hunter S. Thompson, and they think they're this shining star that has to burn twice as bright. You know what I mean? And it's just like, you're really not, and you really don't have to be. And I guess would that fit your definition of like a narcissist, or they're like, they think they're special because they're like in the mud of things, even though they're like a piece of shit?
Yeah,
I mean, Hunter S. Thompson himself is a good example of that. But I think the key with him and why people liked him was that he was self-aware enough to know, like, yeah, I am a piece of shit, and this is kind of a joke. And most people who have that personality aren't able to do that, and that's probably what drives you to self-destruct your life, like Destiny and people like that is that you just don't have that little bridge between the two parts of your brain that says like, hey, I'm kind of ridiculous.
I mean,
And
Hunter S. Thompson died of alcohol poisoning, didn't he?
no, he killed himself.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
His father
He invited people over and he made like a grand event of it, didn't he, Merrick?
I think he waited till his wife left and he wrote like a really poignant suicide note. It's just basically, and he swallowed a shotgun. And yeah, that's it do be that way sometimes for those people.
I'm a worthless piece of shit that the entire world revolves around. I got that from Dr. Drew.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Excellent. Well, thank you for your time. Everyone's cheering for you against the United Kingdom that you're going to win. You're going to bring home the gold. Maybe Kiwi farms live for 1,000 years. We didn't have time for it, but I mean, to me, one of the greatest. Like I thought you were cooked during the Keffels drama. People want to read about that. I'm sure it's all about Wikipedia and stuff.
That's the positive poly. The whole industry came down on us. Just a website. I don't have a lot of money. I don't have resources, but we found a way, and we found a way because, in large part, because I sat down every day and I looked at the lay of the land. Everything was completely destroyed. Everything was shut down again. I'm just like, okay, what haven't I tried now? And eventually, it's not all my work. There's one guy in particular. He's Polish. I love the Poles, by the way. The Polish are the best people on the planet. And he was a stoner. He quit weed, but at the time he was a stoner, and he was super into network engineering. And he basically sat down and he said, "Look, this is what you got to look for. Let's try this." And we literally just would plug things in, and if it would blow the fuse on that, and we'd pull it out. And we'd swap in something else. And we did that for months and months and months. And the troons kept sending their nasty grams to service providers saying that they were open for liability, that were killing people, yada, yada, yada. And eventually we just found a consortium of providers that could both handle DDoS attacks and handle trannies sending nasty letters. And, it was really, 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 really scary and really dark in there. And the scariest thing was knowing that if the site went away, they would just start to tie me up in litigation, and they would try to ruin my life and drive me to suicide if they could. And so a part of it was just self-preservation, where it's like, if they kick this support structure out from under me, they're going to go after me as hard as they possibly can. But thankfully that didn't happen, and they lost, and everything's on the up and up, and we're going to win.
You won where so many people failed. You did not win during a times of like everything was great, the legal environment was great. I remember seeing New York. We have a journalist that's regularly appears in the New York Times, comes to this show, and he tells us like, look, if you're a journalist, this is not his words, but it's more or less like you're like a senator. These people have immense power in the United States. It's just how things are. And they were all coming after you, and you want, I don't know, there should be a movie of that. I don't know if you have a website, a podcast people can refer to get the whole story on that.
I do a little info laundering to try and make my site, which is terminally unprofitable, profitable. I do a podcast called Mad at the Internet at madattheinternet.com or mati.live. And I stream every Friday. And I talk mostly about weird people on the internet, but I also complain very loudly about everything.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Josh Moon.
Thank you.